suing his neighbor, Stacy Benedum, for breach of contract and attorney fees.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2128, Hall versus Benedum.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hall, you and the defendant are neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
And your houses are right next to each other.
Hers is on the corner and mine is
Right next to her.
Yes.
Got it. What your complaint is that I see where those two, the truck and the vehicle behind it.
The trailer, yes, ma'am.
The trailer. The property to the left of that is your house.
Yes, ma'am.
And the property to the right of that is the defendant's house.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that the defendant, in writing, agreed to sell you that little piece of property that looks like it's been carved out of her property.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you had a narrow driveway, you wanted to park these two vehicles.
Yes, ma'am.
Based upon that agreement, you went ahead and did some work on that piece of property.
Yes, ma'am.
You put down gravel, you planted flowers, all to make it look as if that piece of property was part of your house.
Not so much to make it look like it's part of my house so I can get in it, because the agreement was that there was 3 pine trees there prior to her telling me that I can buy the property.
No. The 3 trees that are there had nothing to do with this except that they were taken down. And were they taken down and the removal of the trees was paid for by you or by her?
By both of us.
By both. Okay. So you asked to have the trees removed, and you both paid to have the trees removed.
Okay.
Not only did you cut the trees down, but you took that property and made it look like yours. You say that there was an agreement in writing for her to sell you that piece of property. So I'd like to see that agreement.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no agreement in writing.
Don't say anything.
The very top line.
Just a second. This is not a contract, sir, to sell land.
I have a lot more.
Shh. Not a contract to sell land. I see what she says to you. I am agreeing to sell you the property you are currently parked on for $1,000 plus costs. Let's get this in motion ASAP. And then she doesn't hear from you, and that's the 18th of May. And then she writes you again a little bit later, and she says her offer will expire at the end of today's business day, 5/19. And on 5/19, at 10 o'clock at night, you write to her, "Hey, Stacy, I've started working on things this morning. I have already been to the city of Akron, and once they are done and I get a surveyor and so on, I will keep you updated if that's okay. Last, everything is time sensitive, and I'm working as fast as I can to get the approvals. Just now seeing your texts."
Right.
Okay. So that's what you're relying on as a contract to purchase property.
Well, the fact that she said that she would sell it to me, and I started all the motion like she said to do. I started all the motions, got the surveyor done, got the deeds done, I got everything done.
All right. That was 5/19/2021. So show me what you did based on this and what you spent based on your belief that she had agreed to sell you the property and you had an agreement for sale, which is like a contract to sale of property. Most people know that when you sell a piece of property, you get a survey, you put it in the contract, you have a contract when the property is going to be transferred. That property would have to be surveyed because clearly you're carving a piece of property out of her property. I want to see what you did and what you spent, because if you spent money based on this, I may consider that as part of your lawsuit, because then it turned out she didn't want to sell you the property. By the way, I wouldn't sell him the property either. It makes your property look ridiculous.
It does. We never agreed to sell the property. Okay.
Did you write, "I am agreeing to sell you the property you are currently parked on for $1,000 plus costs"?
Yes, I had never agreed to sell the property until I told him he was no longer allowed to park there. It was never discussed.
What is this?
Depending on the stipulation that my mortgage company requires, which is an appraisal, they had to approve the selling of the property.
All I'm interested in is this one line. The other ifs fall after that. It says, "I'm agreeing to sell you the property you are currently parked on for $1,000 plus costs."
Yes.
Okay, so you did that.
Yes.
I want to see the things that you started to do right after May 19th. You said, "I've already started working on things this morning." This is May 19th. "I've already been to the city of Akron."
Yes. This is a receipt showing the $800 from the surveyor.
Okay, may I see that, please?
There's that one. This is a receipt from the attorney where I had the deed paperwork done.
I'm looking for a date on this, sir. I'm looking for dates on these things.
Look at this one, too.
Okay, June 15th. What is this?
That's actually when I paid to have the 3 deeds made up. That's the $450 that I had to pay to the attorney for him to make the 3 deeds up. And everything Stacey had to do was sign them.
And that was June 15th. That was not quite a month later.
Right. I started the next day.
Okay. And this is so far what you spent in reliance on her statement that I'll sell you the property for $1,000.
This is a breakdown that I have, that I wrote down, that you can show her that, of everything, the timeline and...
Now, I don't need a breakdown of the timeline, sir. I need the bills for this, not what you wrote.
Okay. Oh,
I need the bills for 6 tons of gravel. That was in July.
Here's one receipt right here. There you go.
Did he ever give you $1,000?
He never paid me.
I'm a common sense person and a property owner. It was overreaching to think that you could buy a piece of that land for $1,000. Overreaching.
Julian Hall claims his neighbor, Stacey Benedum, owes for building costs and attorney fees. Stacey is countersuing, claiming Julian was illegally parking on her property.
Okay, so far all I have that you paid was $450 for the deeds, $800 for the survey, and gravel to be delivered.
I got the gravel in there. I also have the concrete that I had laid, flowers and stuff that I put in.
Did he pay part of having the tree stumps removed?
We split the cost and the labor of removing the debris of the trees.
No, ma'am, that's not true.
Who wanted the trees removed?
I never had a problem with the trees. I like the trees.
Don't speak.
He wanted the trees cut down so he could have more space. He was already parking underneath the trees with a smaller trailer, just not his truck. He wanted more space, so he came to me and said, hey, what if I split the cost of the cutting of the trees? I said, that's fine, I'll split the cost. That's fine with me. And then I agreed to let him continue to park there as long as there was no tire marks. That's what it was. And then he built this thing.
Well, he formalized parking there. Mm-hmm. Okay. At what point did Miss Benedum tell you that she was not going to sell you the property?
This actually started on 4/3 of 18.
I'm not interested. I'm interested in the beginning of these texts, where you clearly had discussions, trees were removed. I don't quite understand why she allowed you to remove the trees, and I don't understand the whole transaction.
Because it wasn't my choice.
Just a second, it was your choice. You wanted to park there. That's what you wanted.
But the trees was dying.
I don't care if they were dying. I don't care if they were shriveled up. I don't care. You carved out a piece of property. Now, if you carved out a piece of property that belongs to her and you didn't have an appropriate agreement in writing, which it has to be, then I believe, based upon her statement that you acted on, you're entitled to whatever you spent to renovate that property. Do you understand? You're not entitled to the property.
No, I understand.
You're not entitled to the property. You're entitled to what you spent to renovate the property. So now I want you to tell me, on what date did she tell you that she was not going to sell you the property?
That was 7/20 of 21. After I got everything done and called her, and asked her, could she meet me at the bank? She said, no, I'm not selling to you for $1,000. But it goes deeper than that. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. It goes deeper than that because when it came to the trees, I didn't approach her with the trees. She came to me and said, since the tree was dying, I said, well, I'll go in half with you. At that point, I said, when can I use the property? She said, you can use it as long as you need it. So that's when I started investing all this money into the property.
So what? I don't care. She said to you, you can use it as long as you want.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I said nothing permanent.
She said, as long as I need it. That's why I invested the gravel.
Okay. What I'm telling you, sir, is the purchase and sale of property has to be with a certain formality. If you dealt with an attorney, the attorney would tell you that it had to be in a formality, signed by her, signed by you, the contract that provided for sale, when it took place, what the survey was, whether her bank would agree to let her sell off a piece of the property because you have a mortgage, all of those things. That's why agreements to sell real property, which is land, have to be in accordance with a certain set of rules. This doesn't make it. However, if you relied on her statement in order to improve the property, to make it comfortable for you based upon her text message, I believe that you are entitled, based upon the text message, to what you spent to improve it. But you have to understand, she's not going to let you park there anymore.
And I'm okay with that.
Just a second. Are you still parking there?
No, ma'am.
Since when?
I would say September of 2022.
So you were parked there in July of 21, August of 21, September of 21, October of 21, November of 21, December of 21, January of 22, all the way up to September. You were parking there.
This is because we had...
Don't give me a because.
No, I'm
That's
not-
either a yes or a no.
I was parked there, but we also had a civil case, too.
Which he dismissed 2 days
We
before.
had a civil case. She called the police.
He
and
called the police on me twice.
Just, the question was, when did she tell you she wasn't going to sell you the property?
September, when she agreed not to meet me at the bank, that's when she told me she wasn't going to sell.
September of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
I never knew we were meeting at a bank.
Just a second. So
I can do
in
better than that.
September of 2022, she advised you.
No, I'm sorry, it was August of 2021.
Well, show me in August of 2021 that you told him you weren't selling him the property.
Here's,
Okay, I'll take both, Kevin. Thank you.
And this was after she agreed.
Shh. Okay. I'm just looking for the date on this.
yeah, there's not a date on there, I'm sorry, but that was after May 18th of 2021. That was maybe July or August of 2021 when I told him, since he didn't meet all the requirements, that I no longer want to sell
What
it.
requirements?
He never met the requirements of paying me the money or getting the land appraised. The only thing he didn't do that my mortgage required is the appraisal.
Ma'am, that wasn't true because I did everything that the city of Akron told me to do, who deal with this on a regular.
Did you get an appraisal?
I got the land surveyed. She didn't
Did
tell me
you
about
get-
nothing about
did you
appraisal until
get-
after I got everything done.
That's why you have a contract in writing for the sale of property, sir. I don't think you did anything intentionally wrong, but there was an appraisal that was necessary. Clearly, if she has a mortgage and a bank is giving her a certain amount of money on a parcel of property, and she wants to sell off a piece of that property, the bank is going to want to know how much the value of the property has diminished by her selling it to you. So you have to have an appraisal. Do you understand?
I understand that.
Okay,
And I also
and you didn't have an appraisal. I'm not going to tell it to you again. And all I want to know is when she first told you that you didn't have a deal. So once she told you that you didn't have a deal, whatever else you invested in this property was on you.
No, and I didn't invest anything else other than getting an attorney and paying everything I needed to pay him.
Once she told you that she wasn't selling the property to you, what'd you need an attorney for? You're not the aggrieved party here. You got to park for free because she was a good soul. I would have had your trailer and your truck towed to an impound on day 2.
Julian Hall has accused his neighbor, Stacy Benedum, of breaking their agreement. Stacy claims there was never an agreement and is countersuing for parking fees.
Once she told you that she wasn't selling the property to you, what'd you need an attorney for?
Because I had already had an investment after she said she was going to sell it to me. Once the attorney got involved, he told me to dismiss the case. Then after that, like 3 days later, I moved off the property.
Just a minute. So who brought a civil case?
I did.
When?
Last year of 21.
And what happened with that case?
It was dismissed
What did you bring a case against her for?
for breach of contract.
It was dismissed because there was no contract.
Your Honor, can I say something?
What?
He made all these improvements in 2018 before we ever discussed selling the property.
You mean he put the gravel in?
Yeah.
Well, how could he put the gravel in over trees?
The trees were cut down in 2018.
Is that right, sir? Hey,
That's correct.
the
yes,
trees
ma'am.
that were cut down in 2018, well
Yes.
before this.
Yes.
So you did use it. You used it for how many years? You used it 18, 19, 20, and 21. You used it. You used it. You had value from it. You had value from somebody else's property. You used her property for you to park on. You
Yeah,
can't.
I wouldn't have done none of this if she would have told me no. Every move that I made, I asked her first. I got it in text message. I asked her, can I do this? Can I do this? She said, yeah, go ahead and do it. If she would have said no, I wouldn't have done none of it. I wouldn't put a dime into the property.
I'm not going back to 2018, sir. If you made these improvements in the property in 2018 or 2019, before there was any hint of a writing that she was going to sell you property.
She had a verbal that I can park there as long as I wanted to.
Okay, your case is dismissed, Mr. Hall. You don't have a case. You did park there until she told you not to park there anymore. And you had the benefit of parking there for at least 3 years.
I got money invested that she told me
you
that
had
I
the
can do
benefit
it.
of parking your things there for at least 3 years. Are they gone now?
His truck and trailer are, but the gravel's still there, and we have to clean up, get rid of that stuff.
It was a huge mistake. So you're going to have to take care of that yourself.
Okay.
And I would take care of that because that looks ridiculous.
I will.
That looks ridiculous. You have a counterclaim
Yes.
for parking. Forget it.
But listen, I told him he couldn't park there back in May of 2021. He continued to park there till...
So you should have been more vigilant.
My attorney didn't notify him till May of this year, of 2022, that if he continues to park there, we'll charge him $75 a day. And he continued to park there until the case was dismissed in August of 2022. So I'm only suing him for May of 2022 to August of 22.
And did he move it?
He did.
Okay. You still living there?
Yes.
Do you talk to him?
No.
Had you talked to him previously?
Yeah.
We had a good relationship.
I'm a common sense person and a property owner. It was overreaching to think that you could buy a piece of that land for $1,000. Overreaching. And if she had it appraised, and if it's something that you want, and she had, I guarantee you that that little piece of property would be appraised at a far higher cost than $1,000. Guaranteed. And I guarantee you that her bank would say, you can't let him buy that piece of property for $1,000. How much of a mortgage are you carrying?
$76,000.
Not going to let her sell off that piece of property. You had the benefit of that piece of property for several years. I have to tell you that I really think that it's much nicer to look at plain grass than it is to look at a trailer and a truck from her backyard.
Your Honor, I wouldn't have done none of it if you would have said do it.
Do you know what your attorney said to you? I can't help you. You don't have a contract. And Mr. Hall, that's what I'm telling you. I can't help you. You don't have a contract. And from what I know now, this all started in 2018 before there was any discussion of buying the property that you can prove to me. Because the thing that you gave me was in 2021. I have to tell you, you never had a problem because she was a good neighbor. If she let you park on her property, so if you think you're the one who's been aggrieved here, the truth of the matter is I don't think that you're the one who was aggrieved here. She let you park on her property. I have to tell you, I wouldn't have let that happen. I had a neighbor who had an easement. And I said, all I want from you when I bought the house was I want you to say that you will never try to claim this property by adverse possession and that you understand that it's my property. And then you can use it because it was a place that looked like it was part of his driveway. Mm-hmm. And he said, I'm not signing that. I said, if you don't sign it, I'm going to put a fence right in the middle of your front lawn, which is where my property line is. I don't hear from him. I said, you have 24 hours to sign the paper or I'm putting a fence right in the middle of your front lawn because that's my property and you have an easement. And he didn't sign it. He would have lived with the fence until today because it's still there. Now his children are living with the fence because he's gone. You're not the aggrieved party here. You got to park for free for 4 years. For free. Because she was a good soul. She's not a bad guy. She was a good soul. I would have had your trailer and your truck towed to an impound on day 2. She let you park there for 4 years.
I wouldn't have been there.
Goodbye, we're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
She knew what type of work I did, so she said as long as I needed it.
It was just a tough lesson of being nice to the wrong person.
It did look like it was part of my yard, so I get that part.
I hope we can be cordial and just move on with our life.
It is what it is.
This is a great example of the statute of frauds and why it exists. So all writings for the sale of land, real estate, have to be in writing and signed by both parties. I'm sure it was created for situations just like these. There's a lot of moving parts. There's mortgages, there's banks involved a lot of the times.
There are easements, there are water rights,
Exactly.
there are all kinds of things.
Legally, they're some of the most complex documents that get drawn up. So it can't be a text message for $1,000 to sell off a piece of land without all the boxes being ticked.
Right. After May of 2021, when she wrote that piece...
For his detrimental reliance on the statement.
For his reliance on that statement to his own detriment by putting in gravel and other stuff.
But then it
'Cause I
came
thought
out, it was
It
way
was put
before.
down in 18 before she ever said anything about selling
Took it upon himself.
Yeah, that would be on him.
Yeah.
And I don't feel badly for him because he